Wait, hold on. I'm trying to come up with a pun of a wrist, like a wrist worth taking, or I don't. No, that's nothing. Arithmetic. It's simple arithmetic.
It's not the one. No one wants to sing that. I don't know musicals, but I can't imagine that.
I want to make a bunch of Zoomers sing it. I want to make a bunch of Zoomers audition and sing that. In 1996, Scholastic began publishing Animorphs. Over the next 6 years, Katherine Applegate and her husband, Michael Grant, under the pseudonym K.A. Applegate, produced 54 main series books, several spin-offs, an inspired TV series, graphic novels, and a cult. We can't tell you where we live. We can't even tell you our last names, but we can tell you our thoughts and feelings on this series, book by book. I'm Chris.
I'm Miranda.
I'm Eddy.
And we are the Anidorks.
These may be kids' books, but we discuss dark themes and mature content. There may also be some explicit language. Listener discretion is advised.
You guys want to, talk about a different book?
You're not excited about...
No. Let's do this book. You're right. All right. So chapter 13... Guys, okay, I think we need to address the Rachel as elephant in the room, which is we did not make a lot of progress last episode.
That is true.
We
chapters 8 to 12.
Yeah, that's pretty embarrassing.
When you say it like that, Miranda, it makes it sound like we did a bad job.
So I suspect we're going to need a newfound discipline.
There's just a lot to talk about in this book.
Don't defend the book like that.
I'm going to jump in. Can I do the Earth Diary, even though I don't like this one?
Absolutely.
Do it.
E.T. phone home. When I found that sentence in Cassie's book of human quotes, it surprised me. To be honest, it almost scared me. It was as if it were written just for me. I thought maybe... somehow, my human friends had discovered my plan and written it there.
Very cute. Very sweet.
Yeah.
They didn't.
Yeah,
but...
it's delusion of grandeur. Not that important, Axe.
Yeah.
Do you think he just saw the quote, though? Or do you think he had a little bit of context? Because he sure did a lot of interpreting if...
I think it probably just said E.T. phone home and then was like, from E.T. by Steven Spielberg.
So we start off, the sun was coming up over planet Earth. Like it does. You know, this is no great surprise to us humans. Sun comes up every day.
Sun comes up, sun goes down, tide goes in, tide comes out. Can't explain that. Sorry.
How does it work? We'll never know.
Axe is doing his morning ritual, but he's a little bit impatient this morning. He's waiting for Tobias because they're going to go execute Axe's plan soon. Tobias is helping Axe.
Right.
I was really bowled over by that sentence. I was really concerned after the word execute that I'd read a different book.
Yeah. Well, maybe a later chapter, but...
Right.
Yeah. But that's right. It's for Marco Dad, it's take your Andalite and bird to work day.
I love that. I would love that.
So yeah, he's especially antsy when he's doing the ritual because, he's always kind of antsy because he doesn't really buy it, but, he's excited.
Yeah.
And Tobias comes in and is like, oh my God, you would not believe the thermals on the chick I just saw.
It's especially funny because he's a bird.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of thermal talk. We're going to squeeze a lot of thermal talk in here.
But yeah, he says it's a beautiful day for flying and that's good for them. And Axe is like, you do not have to help me.
Mm-hmm.
You
and
need
Tobias
not.
is like, literally, I've got nothing else to do today.
Yeah, he's like, come on. And we get Axe's bird morph, which is just really great. He seems to imply that, his front hooves shrink first. Because what he says is, wings grew out of my front legs, which is very awkward. It causes me to fall forward onto the ground, since I cannot stand on hind legs alone.
Yeah,
and
it's pretty weird to imagine.
They try to make use of what's already there on the body to sculpt whatever's coming.
We had this debate early on about what those hooves were, though, because because Andalite pants really brings up a lot of questions about how to prioritize legs and looking human. You remember, because humans don't have 4 legs. So which legs are the real legs? Is it the back legs or the front legs?
Yeah, and I remember I also asked about when Cassie morphs like a centaur in book 1. I'm like, should she be able to do that?
She shouldn't be able to do that.
Front legs be her arms? But I don't know. But she's an estrine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She's an estrine.
As we now know. Oh, and actually, Axe calls out that Cassie is better than Axe at morphing in this scene.
Yes.
He's like, hey, I don't mean to be like a dick or anything, but why do you suck when when she's so good? She's been doing it way less time, and she's like a human. And he's like, I have many talents. Morphing is not one of them.
And then he immediately gets his nose rubbed in it again because Tobias is like, okay, whoa, didn't mean to step on your shit. And then they take off flying, and he also sucks at flying, kind of.
Well, Tobias is better at flying than he is.
Tobias is in really good bird shape.
I want to be in
very
bird shape.
shaped.
Yeah. They say a thermal is an updraft of heated air.
And then he says flying into one is like an elevator or a drop shaft, which again, I really have a problem with drop shafts being described as going up. I have a deep-seated problem with this
Miranda,
that I'm never going to reconcile.
I agree, because they, first of all, up shaft sounds ridiculous and is only outdone by up drop shaft. And calling it a shaft.
It could be a lift shaft.
Just call it a lift. You can't just call it a shaft, though. You can't just... All right, everybody in the shaft, go get shafted.
The first time we saw one was book 5, right?
Yeah.
Sounds true. Yeah, because they were on the spaceship.
Going, it wasn't like they just first introduced it and it was one going up and that's why they gave it that name, right?
No, you had to think what floor you were going to.
They passed one going up. I think, no, they passed someone standing at a drop shaft.
In book 7, they went up a drop shaft. They went up a drop shaft in book 7.
We don't know that they're on their way to the observatory, right? We kind of find out. We're learning what their mission is as they go. Is that right?
Tobias says that right around the time they hit the air. He's like, the observatory is along the coast. It's north. It's about an hour's flight time, which means he scouted this mission and he really put in some wing work here.
Yeah, he's been doing his homework. We get a nice little moment where Axe is reflecting on Tobias's situation, being a Nothlit. And he says, I thought it must be terrible sometimes for Tobias. He lives in fear of things that no human would need to fear. He has lost his position at the top of the food chain of Earth. Hawks are predators, but they are also prey, yet he seemed to have accepted his fate. Was it possible he even preferred being a hawk? Was that why he never asked me what I might know about him being a Nothlit? Or did he think I would refuse to answer, or worse yet, lie? And I feel like it's setting up that there's going to be... I feel like we've got a good, meaty Tobias storyline coming up. Does it feel like that to you too?
Yeah, it does feel
like that. And I think mixing them together in this way and having them be... since they have to share a book, having them both come at it from an outcast's point of view, but totally different kinds of outcasts, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is a good way to weave those stories together.
Yeah, that's true. They do kind of share the book because there is a lot of Tobias stuff here. And is that what did we get that in an email from CJ? That they share?
Well, that they swap.
Yes, CJ mentioned that they're swapped. Yeah.
So when
in addition to swapping, I feel like at least with this book, they're trying to put them together and further their stories together.
Yeah. But this is our Tobias allotment for this 6 books, presumably.
Yeah. Okay, so they're approaching the observatory.
Yeah, they called out a bunch of different birds that could hurt them, and then none of them hurt them.
Yeah.
And
unlike the last book where literally everything they ever talked about hurt them.
Yeah.
Just trying to keep us on our toes, I guess.
And they roll up on the observatory and he's like, you guys are still using dish arrays?
Yeah.
And he's like, my dad can't afford cable. And
good joke. But yeah, no, he rips on our technology and then he plays dumb when Tobias asks what the hell they're doing. And then he's like, well, we're flying, aren't we?
And Tobias gets a good line of, very funny, suddenly you have a sense of humor. Great.
It sounds like Marco's rubbing off on him.
Yeah.
Which I I like the ongoing thing of Axe becoming funny.
I just want to clip that.
What?
The clip is going to be, it sounds like Marco's rubbing on him, which I like. And then that's just the clip.
They arrive at the observatory.
Yep, they see
this
the
is pretty
big dome
cool.
with the optical telescope in it. He rips on our optical telescope, too. And Tobias gets to teach Axe what being snide is. That's fun.
Yeah.
That's a fun thing friends get to do for each other.
Mm-hmm. Shorms even, or shorms to be, hopefully.
And he points out that, like, there's really nothing to see with an optical telescope.
Whatever Axe is going to do, he needs fingers for. He won't tell us anything more. So he's going to have to morph when they get in there. They decide to fly in through the big hole for the telescope and just go into the dome.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
So yeah, they fly in, and Tobias is like, I mean, there's no reason for me to go in, really, so you can kind of go in on your own. And he's like, cool, catch you later. Mm-hmm. And Tobias is like, be safe, eat the lunch I packed you.
Tobias is going
the
on
kids off at school.
Complete act of faith here, right? Because he doesn't understand.
Mm-hmm.
He just knows that he's helping Axe. He doesn't know anything. Like, Axe isn't giving him
Does not know what he's planning to do at all.
Yeah, yeah.
I just want to say something that, like, they talk about whether or not they can thought speak at this range again, because Axe is, like, inside the observatory, and Tobias is like, okay, I'll keep an eye out, but they don't actually know if they have a clear channel of communication.
Right, there's like words cutting out and stuff. I like to imagine static.
Exactly. And I think it's just really interesting because, like, I'm just surprised that they haven't worked on this yet. Like, it just feels like, even
it's
the
been a problem a number
of
times in.
Yeah, like, it's just like, it's book 8. Like,
yeah, why didn't he just fly down into the dome and hide somewhere so he was close enough?
If we're going to be militarizing the children, they should have code words for things, like.
So yeah, Tobias is outside and he can see into an office where someone's having a meeting, and Axe is in a different office and he can like hear it. And Tobias is like, yeah, no, it's definitely a bunch of dudes having a meeting. As far as I can tell, they're all in one place. And Axe is like, can you just let me know if they're coming? He's like, yeah, I'll let you know. And
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's fine, I guess.
And Axe's plan is actually he was going to morph back to being an Andalite and then morph into being a human just so he at least looks less out of place. But it's actually very tiring and he doesn't actually make it to the human morph, right?
Yeah,
he
he's no
realizes
Cassie
that if
morphing.
he needed to make a speedy retreat, he would have to go through his Andalite morph to get back to Bird.
Yes.
And that he just doesn't have time to do that.
Yeah, which is a fair point.
So he stays in Andalite morph, which is
just takes a big
extra
risk.
risky, but it's better than not being able to escape. Although it doesn't seem to affect whether or not he could escape, as we're about to find out. He slips on the polished floor. We have to talk about his hooves sliding around.
Yeah.
Which we talked about the possibility that Andalites had textured floors on their ships.
It's interesting that the book's keeping track
of the physicality of the Andalite.
Yeah.
He goes into the main observatory room because the office he was in didn't have a computer, which he's annoyed about. So he has to go back out into the main observatory, and then he's like, I began typing on the antique keyboard. And I'm like, I get that you think our tech is old.
Is keyboard 2 words in your edition too?
Yeah, actually
okay,
it is.
That's weird.
I get that it's old tech for Andalites, but this is the height of human tech, and antique has to do with how long the item has existed.
Right.
He's just
The definition of antique doesn't
right.
work for me. He's just being an asshole. Yeah. So Axe hacks in to the observatory computer.
That's right. He pings on all IPs at once.
He guesses the password is password.
He was right.
That's my reading of this line, and I won't have it taken away from me.
Yeah. He's had practice with Marco's dad's computer, so.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think Marco would have taught him, because Marco probably logged in and showed him porn, and he's like, here's the secret, buddy. If you got to get through the parent locks, 9 times out of 10, the password's password.
Okay. All right. We're gonna take a quick little detour. I know we have a lot to get to. I'm gonna read the top 10 most common passwords in 2022. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right, from the bottom up. Number 10, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 0. Number 9, 1 2 3 1 2 3. Number 8, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Number 7, 1 1 1 1 1 1. Number 6, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Number 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Number 4, password. Number 3, QWERTY. Number 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Number 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. It's the same as the code on my luggage. So, Axe is hacking. He's writing a virus that's going to rejigger the code that Marco's dad had put in to turn the radio telescope into something that could create a Z-space vacuum and open a cross-dimensional gateway, which he says humans could do too if they knew what Z-space was, but like they just can't see it, which Chris, that was your point.
Honestly, like you were really close to, and then he says, once I opened a small hole into Z-space, it was child's play to use the same receivers to modulate and reflect the background radiation into a coherent signal. And that was some really good Geordie LaForge shit. Yeah. That was like very good. That was some of the better technobabble in these books so far. I really just was like, yeah, let's go.
No, it sounded good.
Yeah.
Axe gets a dangerous message from Tobias, which says, still out here.
Which, so he was hoping that the word that he couldn't hear was okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Still okay out here.
Yeah.
Anyway, he recodes the telescope and then does the thing that all programmers do, which is they press the enter key. And this causes all the computer code to execute at once. And the screen went blank. And then he somehow coded the computer to respond to his brainwaves. Yeah, so he is like responsible for channeling the signal of the whole radio telescope with his brain. Like, it's like talking into a microphone. Mm-hmm. But
he says this is the hard part. This is the part where he has to
the carrier frequency or something.
Yeah, this is more like using your voice to tune a radio.
Yeah. Which, hold on.
It's
if
like
you
pitch up, we shift up, pitch down, we shift down.
But so you realize what that would mean is like if we were talking and we had to do that, it would be like, oh, hi, Miranda. Hi, there's an alien invasion on the planet. Like, oh my God, can you please send help? Belfanger's dead.
The focusing itself seems to be a big part of it, right? Because there's a moment in a bit where he loses. It's almost like there's like an emotional component too. Like he has to stay calm or he can't be distracted.
Right. And he has to be totally focused. Yeah. And so he totally focuses and he thinks, Andalite home. Unnamed Andalite home.
Like, why not take this opportunity to name the planet for us? Like,
well, I don't know if, they did the learning through context clues earlier, and I think maybe it didn't go over as well as they were hoping.
The generous read is that this has all been redacted. That's
true.
Read.
That's absolutely true.
Yeah. That seems to be the kind of thing you would accuse Miranda of doing a generous read.
I'm surprised you didn't say it, Miranda.
That's true. I guess it doesn't make sense to me because he's about to name drop 10 Andalites.
Yeah.
That's true. Why name? Why redact? If
so the screen flickers.
He sees a face.
A face appears, a hard, suspicious face, but an Andalite face. Who is this? The Andalite demanded. This is a high security link. You are not an authorized sender. State your name and location.
And he says,
my name is Exemilius Gruth Isthil, brother of Elfanger Serenio Shamtul, son of Norlin Serenio Kuraf, and Forley Asgaruth Mahin.
Okay, so
that's how Axe sounds like while trying to control a radio, you guys.
That's fair. That startles the other Andalite, and he's like, Elfango's brother, what is your location? And he's like, Earth! But I want to talk about these names real quick. So the first son seems to have gotten the middle name of parent A, and the second son got the middle name of parent B.
Which means 2 lines are gone. Because we lost Kuraf and Mahin. Mahin is gone from both children's names.
Oh my God. Do you get
Cedric
paternal
Bixler
and maternal
Zavala?
Grandfather last names? Is that what it is? And that's how they're phased out?
Maybe.
Is it maybe all patrilineal? There's no mother's name that gets passed down?
Yeah.
It's like my last names are, my name is Norlin, and my first last name is my dad's last name, and my second last name is my mom's dad's last name.
Yeah.
Because then they just never pass down the mom names. That's why they only pass down the middle name, and you get two names.
I am a little confused about where Isthil and Shemtul came from.
But those could have been the mom's names. Their first names or something.
Don't we have two parents here?
Oh, yeah, you're right. That's a good point.
Yeah, it could be grandparents, like you're saying, right?
Yeah, I don't know. It's confusing.
We need more information. I think we need to know about Isthil and Shemtul. We need a bigger family tree.
Because like Forley, Esgaruth, Maheen. Yeah, no, it doesn't. We'd need a bigger family tree to make any clear.
All we know is that the brothers, oh my God, they
don't share
no
any
names.
Yeah,
they don't share any names.
And but we're also definitely supposed to be, like, they have all four of these names here. Like, we're supposed to be tracking that one gets the one parent's name and the other one gets the.
But that means they always have two children, or they often have two children, which
that could be true. We don't know.
We will hear of another Andalite towards the end of the book who has two kids, but like, that is a ridiculous system for that to be a cultural standby.
Maybe if they had a third kid, the other third and fourth kid, the other names get used.
Yeah.
It's wild though.
It's a strict culture.
It's a very strict culture.
So Axe has just reported that he is on Earth.
Earth?
What are you doing there?
Immediately, this person asks, is Prince Elfangor with you? And that's when Axe kind of stutters and his concentration wavers.
Gets really emotional, and he can't hold on to the signal.
And so he just dodges the question when he comes back and goes with, "Who are you?"
And then the person informs us who he is. We get a lot of Andalite names here. In fact, possibly enough that we could start to make rules and make an Andalite name generator or train an AI. But I am Ithilurian Halas Korain. That's pretty close to what it says. Assistant to the head of planetary communications. And they go through some formalities here. They say he has to tell him about Elfangor, and he goes, "Thank you, Ithilurian. My brother's life ended," I said. "The dome ship was destroyed. I'm the only survivor." Where do they bury the survivors?
And he's like, he's surprised. He's like, "Oh, that's terrible. He was such a great warrior." And of course, all those other people on the dome ship. And Axe is like, Elfangor was the greatest. And I'm starting to think this is a rule that they have.
Yeah.
That you have to say
that one of those, like, foam fingers up and down.
Yes. He's number one.
He was number one.
It seems like they didn't know that the dome ship was destroyed. Like, they haven't had a report out about it. They haven't.
Yeah, it surprises me that they haven't.
Sense.
It's like there's been no communication for like 6 months, and they just don't know.
Yeah.
It's definitely super weird that like there wasn't some sensor, like impact sensor.
In other sci-fi, it's always that message of like, "Please send help," and then they're like, they get hit by a blast and they get thrown across the thing, and the explosion happens. It's like, ah.
But I would think at the very least, if you were in a situation serious enough to eject the dome,
a distress signal,
you would alert higher ups.
Yeah. Also, why would your dome ship not have a distress signal?
Yeah.
Why weren't they all mirror wave calling?
And so they say that the moment Axe's family is found, they will connect him, but first give your report, Arist Eximili. So Axe says, the Yeerks are here in force. There is at least one mothership, also one blade ship belonging to Visser 3, and numerous bug fighters. The humans are unaware of the invasion. I do not know how many humans have been made into controllers, but there must be thousands at least, which, Chris, you said tracks with what we estimated before?
Yeah. I think, so like
assuming that it hasn't spread beyond locally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which brings my vacation theory back into play. I think one family vacation would be enough to set that Tommy boy straight.
Ithilurian says, then Earth is lost to the Yeerks.
And Axe is like, no. We've got a resistance of young human Arists like me.
Yeah. So he's kind of being vague at first.
We fight together. But he's like, surely there's no hope of victory. Like, look at you. You're a baby.
He's like, no. We blew up a Kandrona.
Yeah.
Like, we
And then he says you destroyed a Yeerk Kandrona. And I want to know about that. Are there non-Yeerk Kandronas?
Good point. Good point.
I don't know.
Well made.
Maybe it was someone else's technology first. It seems like the Yeerks just borrow everyone's technology.
Well, they need it, though.
Yeah.
Well, the portable Kandrona could be someone else's technology, but
True.
It's set to mimic
I never
their own
leave the
sun.
house without my portable Kandrona.
Ithilran is like incredulous. He's like, how did you do this? How could this be possible?
Yeah.
You and some humans? And he's like, well, the humans are morph capable.
Yeah. They are persons who can morph.
Right. Persons who morph animals.
How did they come by this technology? This guy asks. It was given to them by Elfangor.
By my shitty older brother, who has no respect for authority. Gen X older brother. Wait, is he a boomer? How old?
I think
Elfangor's a Gen X? He's a Gen Xer.
I think millennial.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
20 in 96.
Oh, in 96. Yeah, yes, you're right. Yeah. I'm thinking by today's.
He's a Gen Xer.
Oh yeah,
He's a
because
Gen Xer.
they'd all be really early millennials, right?
Yeah, like Jake could be a millennial.
Wow, these are our
Jake could be a millennial.
contemporaries we're reading about.
Yeah.
So once Ithilran hears this about Elfangor, he runs to his higher up, and now there's another Andalite there that Axe recognizes.
Yeah, it's Lirim Arapoth Terus.
Yeah, head of the council.
Yes, the head of the council, veteran of more battles than I could count. And apparently his energy like vibrates through the screen, through this long connection. It's very intimidating. And
Or he's like, really hot.
He's like, you know who I am. And Axe is like, oh boy, oh gee, yeah, no, yeah, I do. Well, I don't know you, but like,
I don't know, but I know who you are.
Yeah, I know who you are.
We all want to take that line. He ignored my babbling.
And he's like, yeah, sucks that your brother died. Why the fuck would he give the humans the power to morph? Mm-hmm. He's like, oh, well, they were gonna fucking die. And he's like, and how did you contact us? This is a Z-Space transmission. Can they do that on their own? And he's like, oh, well, no, I may have fudged it a bit. And he's like, so you also break the law.
So Axe starts saying that he starts trying to make his case here that humans are not our enemies, that they're actually working together, right? Mm-hmm. Lirim isn't having it. He's saying he brings up Zero's kindness here. Is that right?
Yeah, he says, I think this would be a fun little read here. Chris,
yeah,
you want to do this with me?
Yeah, all right.
I'm Lirim.
All right.
I'm Lirim. Right. Arist Aximili. Once before, an Andalite did what he thought was the right thing. He transferred technology to a weak, backward species. He did it because he thought they should be able to travel to the stars. Do you know the name of that Andalite?
Prince Zero.
Prince Zero, yes. He was my first prince. Did you know that? Many centuries ago when I was an Arist like you. Do you know what happened because of Zero's kindness?
Yes, I know. I've seen what happened because of Zero's kindness.
For a moment, no one spoke.
Then Lirim said,
Young Aximili, your brother Elfangor is a hero. The people need heroes in this endless war. I do not wish to tell the people that in the end Elfangor broke the laws. There can be no forgiveness for a prince that breaks the laws, unlike an Arist. So, I ask you to think again. Was it truly Elfangor who gave this technology to the humans?
I couldn't believe what Lirim wanted me to say. He wanted me to lie, like I'd been doing all book without flinching. He wanted me to clear Elfangor. I was wrong when I said Elfangor did this, I said, too shocked to argue. It was me. I gave the humans the morphing technology.
Cut off from your prince, alone, not yet trained, not yet a true warrior. You broke the laws, Arist Aximili. Is this true?
Uh-huh.
In the name of the council, I forgive your error. What's done is done. Perhaps in some way I am too old to see. This may all work out for the best.
Cool. I said blankly, why had I done this? Why had I communicated with my home? That's such a heartbreaking. So I have Miranda's quote. Oh my God, it's like an abusive family. He longed for the only home he's ever known and then had 10 seconds of it and was like, why would I ever want to be treated like this?
Yeah. Arist, Aximili Esgaruthasthil, you have done a brave thing, taking on this guilt. I know the temptation to go beyond the law when helping a brave people fight the Yeerks. I was an advisor to the Hork-Bajir. They were our allies, but they were not Andalites. They were not our people.
But I knew I should just shut the fuck up and stop talking to a higher up this way. But part of me was getting real angry. But the Hork-Bajir ended up losing everything. Liram's eyes were cold.
You are an Andalite. You are not a human. Obey our laws. I'm giving you an order. Resist the Yeerks, but give the humans no information and no technology. Do you understand my order, Arist Aximili?
I guess.
The fleet is engaged in many parts of the galaxy. We are doing well against the Yeerks, but it will be some time before we can come to Earth. Fight the Yeerks. If you are half the hero your brother was, you will bring honor on your family.
From what seemed like far away, I heard a faint voice in my head. Axe, blank, on the move, blank, guy, think he, blank. But at that very moment, Liram said,
Aximili, we have your father. He would like to speak to you.
So before...
Cool.
We can talk about this before we move on from it. Because now we're going to get Dad on the line. Four Axe had to talk to three powerful men.
Dads. Three dads in a row. Yeah. My three dads. The Andalites memoir. Yeah, three dads. Or is it human three dad centipede?
Yeah. That's
an Andalite centipede wouldn't work, really.
That's true, Miranda. Yeah. It would look weird, at least. They'd be on... Each have to be on step stools. The next one.
And and also, like, if their butthole's in their hoof... And their mouth's in their hoof.
So you could get four on each one.
I guess, but you'd have to arrange them very oddly.
Yeah.
It would be like a crystalline structure.
I think it would be beautiful.
I think the body geometry alone would bring people to tears.
Yeah. It would bring people together. So this guy, Liram, says he was an advisor to the Hork-Bajir. He decided not to help the Hork-Bajir. And he seems to feel like that was a good decision, despite the fact that those are the most powerful soldiers in the Andalite army now. And he's like, well, just do what I did, right?
Axe, blank, you hear blank, there's Tobias can't get a message through. And then his father hops on the line and he's like, Aximili Kala, my father said.
Which
it was his nickname for me.
Like champ or something. Yeah.
You don't think it means baby boy.
Baby boy.
I guess it all depends on what kind of dad he is.
But then his dad immediately goes, is your brother there? Mm-hmm. And it's like, why couldn't they fucking brief him?
Yeah.
Like, why?
Also, why not just take some time to be happy that your other son is in front of you? Like,
well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Well, but like, for example, if I had two little ones and I saw one and the other one's still missing, I might blurt out, like, where's the other one? Yeah, like that could happen. However, I really think they should have prepped.
I hear you, Chris, but it's hard in already having read this book, knowing how Elfangor centered everyone is, to not hear the dad immediately going, is your important brother there? Like, that's what I hear in that line. He still can't say it, actually. He can't say Elfangor is dead. He says he was killed.
Right.
He says this is the moment that it sinks in for him and it's like real that Elfangor's dead, is seeing his dad realize that it's real.
Yeah. Somehow.
And so then he asks, did he die well? And this is apparently part of a whole ritual. And Axe says he dies in the service of his people, defending freedom.
My father nodded. And his death has been avenged?
No, Dad.
You are now the eldest son. The burden of revenge is on you. Do you know his killer?
Yes.
Do you know his gender?
And does his killer still live?
Yes, his killer still lives. Okay, now we've said
And do
everything.
you, Aximili, take up the burden of avenging your brother's death?
Oh, yeah. No, I say yes to that, too.
Cool.
Now the ritual's over.
All right,
and
so now
he's
we can
allowed to
talk
say,
about your college
I'm relieved
tuition.
to see that you're okay. He says, cool, I wanted to see you. And then the connection breaks.
This line that the dad says is actually, I feel like when he says, I'm so relieved to see that you are still well, right before the connection breaks. And that's the thing I've been waiting for him to say. And that's where the conversation dies. Like, they have this whole formality they have to get through.
Yeah, because you got to imagine, it's like the president is right behind you, or the president
That's
of the
true.
war room is right behind you watching you do this.
And honestly,
So,
probably more important people have come. Like, this is such an important phone call that there's actually more people who have entered the room. Is about how I would imagine it.
Exactly. It could be being fucking broadcast.
That's what I was thinking.
He
It could be
on
recorded,
like
at least.
state-sponsored television right now.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Anyway, we get interrupted. The communication gets cut. Power to the telescope, I assume, gets cut, and we get a very snarky line from a human.
Sorry, but you were breaking my heart, a human voice sneered. I had to cut you off. And I can imagine this cartoon character. Like,
Yeah.
So can I.
And then Axe spins. I spun around, who might slip on the floor. A human! He was 30 feet away from me. And he was holding a weapon. And this is how Axe
30 feet away, 30 feet, you can move in one round. You can get there in one round.
Yeah.
So
And
that's
Andalites?
good. Okay.
I don't know.
They probably have advanced movement.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
could probably do 40 feet in a round.
I don't know, but they're a little small.
And
it's
Axe is
balances out.
especially small.
Oh, he's a widowed soldier.
This human is holding a Dracon beam.
A what now?
Standard Yerk issue.
Standard Yerk issue. He's like, hey, we got a lot to talk about, buddy. We got a lot to talk about.
And then Axe like takes a stab at him, I guess. Like
He thinks
No.
about it,
he
I feel
thinks
like.
about it. He
Yeah.
thinks about it. Yeah.
And Axe
then
puts
he's like,
together quickly that this is a controller, too. I don't know if we
Right,
said that.
yeah.
don't try anything weird, Andalite. I'll fry you before you can even twitch that tail of yours.
But then we get, I don't think we've gotten one of these in a while either. We get Sear!
Tobias doing his one and only attack, claws to the eyes, or to the arm.
It's like his arm and chest, I think.
And then so the man throws up his arms, Tobias scratches him. It basically doesn't do that much. And he gets...
He just tries to knock the gun out of his hand, but
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
the Dracon beam out of his hand, but he actually doesn't succeed at that.
Yeah, the human...
Oh, but this is important. Shreds of the human shirt hung from Tobias's talons.
Yes.
Yes, this Chekhov shreds. And why are you laughing?
My mom has brought up recently, you know, how she loves to talk about the two of you when she brings up Anidorks. And she's like, Chris is so well read. They're always talking about Chekhov. And I was like, oh, do you mean when Chris says things like Chekhov's shreds?
Thank you, Lisa, for believing in my non-education.
After failing to knock the gun from the human controller's hands, Tobias swoops up to a little perch and he hangs out there. And it's too
And
late.
he's like-
and he's like, I don't want to kill anybody, man. I'm not trying to have anybody get hurt. I just want to talk. And Axe is like, you're the one with the gun. He's like, fair point. And he puts it down and he slides it away.
That's all Tobias does in that scene, basically, right? He swoops in, he attacks, and then he just sits there. Like, it kind of felt like...
Yeah, from Axe's point of view.
He
yeah.
needs to witness it
Yeah.
for a plot point later. But you're right. He's just here for plot reasons. That's 100%
He just hangs out
accurate.
the rest of the scene.
And so he doesn't have a gun anymore, and Axe is like, who are you? And he's like, my name's Gary. And he's like, not your fucking stupid fake human name.
Gary Kozlar. Yeah.
So good.
I loved it why does he introduce himself that way? I don't understand it.
Like some kid won a scholastic write-in
That is
contest.
probably true. Yeah.
So cynical. You're so Gen X.
Don't waste my time with your stupid fake human name. And he's like, fine. My name is Eslin359, and you're Aximili, and warrior cadet, brother of the beast Elfangor.
So we have the Abomination, Visser 3, and now the Beast against Elfangor.
And he's like, that's what they called my brother? And he's like, your brother's dead.
Yes. And we find out that Gary, a.k.a. Eslin359, lost his partner. And his partner was another Yeerk. I love this. Named Derain 344. And his entire backstory is about how his buddy Derain was killed by...
You're going with buddy?
Buddy, okay.
It's very gendered. It's very...
Girlfriend? Yeah.
Girlfriend, yeah.
Okay. I felt for some reason Yeerks, I'm a little confused how to...
I agree with you. I was hoping they'd be gayer.
Yeah.
But this one is straight as the hills, apparently.
They exist, all right?
Straights exist. Hashtag straights are real.
His girl, I feel so bizarre saying girlfriend. I'm sorry, I can't.
It feels like it's high
His
school.
paramour.
Say buddy. Say buddy.
Yeah. So it just seems so silly because it's Yeerks. But basically this person, Derain has starved, yeah?
Yes.
Because...
So we learn, yes.
Go ahead, Miranda. I'm tagging you in.
Sorry, you could take it if you want. You just seem to be struggling a little.
Yeah, thank you.
So we learn Derain is dead. I can see clearly now Derain is dead.
Derain is gone. Just commit to the bit.
And
it's so good.
But what we learn is that the higher up Yeerks, the more visible Yeerks, have been being shuttled up to the Cantrona on the mothership every 3 days, but barely getting enough to get by as it is. And this guy, Gary, our good pal, Mr. Kozler, he sabotaged a transport?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's so bitter about Visser 3 having killed Derain.
He allowed Derain to starve because she was not a prominent
Visser
person.
3 did.
Visser 3 made the decisions about who was allowed to who was allowed to fuck me.
Okay, I'm gonna tag me in. Tag me in. Dude, okay. The whole picture is Gary Kozler is trying to get something from Axe, and what he's trying to get from Axe is for Axe to do something.
Can I just say,
and
Gary Kozler has big when one man, like the trailer, like he's been pushed too far.
In response to the Andalite movies, they'll do a movie that's like those movies about what was the villain up to. It is like, or the NPC movie that Ryan Reynolds just did. That's what they'll do. It's like one day in the life of a Yeerk goes horribly wrong.
Yeah. I was fine when you took away this, and I was fine when you took away this, but when you took away my buddy Derain.
Yeah, but there's a cute line. The thing I was trying to hit is that he's like, well, what do you think we have in common? And it's like that and he's like, we have nothing in common. He's like, shut up, you fool. My Derain was taken to me by the very Visser himself, and so was your stupid brother.
I think it's the name Derain too.
It's a wild name.
Rain.
And anyway, so he then reveals that he's been so bitter, he's been sabotaging the Yeerks from the inside.
Like my Derain died.
And then when he found out that there was an Andalite using the telescope array as a Z-space transmitter.
Friend Gary just happens.
He's a smart kid.
He just happens to be positioned in the observatory. That's the post they gave him. So when he sees some code come across his desk, as code does, that looks distinctly...
Here's the thing.
Like hoof
I'm
prints.
imagining hoof prints, and I'm imagining Axe had like comments like, haha, stupid humans, Andalite math to the rescue.
He drew an ASCII Andalite in the...
Yeah. There is one thing here that I like, Eslin, aka Gary, is saying, no, I expect the usual Andalite self-righteousness and hypocrisy from you. And he calls the Andalites meddlers of the galaxy.
Oh, yeah, I did like that line.
And it's like a good perspective shift, like how maybe other people perceive the Andalites.
Especially having just learned that, the Andalites gave them the technology to leave their planet. It has some level of almost implying that, like, everything bad that happened to the Yeerks since then is the Andalites' fault. Like, they blame the Andalites.
Yeah.
So Gary really wants to get back at Visser 3, and he's willing to sell out the highest up of his entire charade.
Oh, and crucially, this slipped my mind, but is actually probably pretty important. Gary here does believe that there is a group of Andalite bandits, that he is handing this information over to a group of Andalites.
Yeah, the Yeerks have nothing like serious kindness to stop them from doing this.
And he does not fully understand. Like, he watched the last part of his interaction with his dad and stuff, but he does not have a full picture of, like, how alone and a child this is.
Yeah,
That he's going, here's everything you need, because what he's going to do is say, I'm giving you the place and time that Visser 3 likes to eat like an Andalite.
Yes.
I don't know what that's a euphemism for.
Right.
But
frankly, I don't want to know.
With your paws.
And
I could do without knowing.
And so he's like, I'm going to give you this. You go kill Visser 3.
Right, because he writes down the location where... Does he write down coordinates? I don't know, but he writes down where Visser 3 feeds on a piece of paper.
No. He says a field.
Yeah.
He just says he feeds it a field.
Yeah, Axe, who would...
And I drew a little picture.
Because Axe has such a good sense of the local area.
Well, Andalites have special field senses. It's one of the many things that makes them superior.
They speak to the grass when they eat it.
They have words for speaking to the grass when they eat it.
Yeah, so he gives Axe the location on a note. He passes it.
He passes him a note.
He says you have a day to prepare for...
He says you have a day to prepare, and he also calls him out on this duty to revenge. Mm-hmm. He has heard, this little thing, and so he, like, really grinds it home. He's like, you could kill your brother's killee. Fucking hell. Killee. You could kill your brother's killer. The greatest enemy of Andalites. I wish
they called him Killee.
That's what a victim is. It's the killer and the killee. Chapter 17. It is very difficult to be in human morph and remember that you are not one of them, that their pain is not your pain. It is hard to remain apart, sometimes very hard. From the Diary of Maximilian Escaruth Still.
I was just going to add, sometimes rock hard.
Oh, okay.
So we're having a meeting in Cassie's barn. Prince Jake has called a meeting, and it's not clear at the beginning what the meeting's about, right?
Right. He does suspect that Tobias ratted on him.
Axe seems to be kind of at the end of his rope here. Like, it seems like he's already made a decision about what he must do, and he also has like a sense of how this meeting is going to go.
Yeah,
right?
and that plays out, I think, over the course of the meeting, that he went in with a decision about how he was going to move forward.
Because he wants to go for Visser 3 now after this conversation, and after talking to Gary back at the observatory.
There are some cute things in here.
Axe is commenting, we haven't seen Cassie's barn through the eyes of Axe yet, I think. And so we have all these rescued wild animals who are injured or sick, and Axe says it's strange the relationship humans have to other animals on Earth. Some animals they seem to have an enormous amount of emotion for. Others they hate. I think it has to do with this thing called cuteness, but I've never understood the concept.
And remember, he said that he could never understand finding Marco cute.
Yes.
He just doesn't understand cuteness.
The clues are all
doesn't
there.
Get it.
You just have to piece them together. And now I was sure I never would. Yeah, he has this like fatalism.
He's like, very final.
Because he's so, like you were saying before, he's so certain that his only path forward, because he can't break Seer's kindness, so he's sort of boxed into this corner where he has to go for Visser 3 immediately, because he can't survive without the Animorphs. So he's just kind of about to be out on his own. He brings up an interesting stipulation, which is that like Lirim had technically forgiven him for breaking the law, but the charge carries some weight. He won't be able to like achieve certain things in society.
Yeah.
His like
he can't be a prince. He can't be Elfangor, basically. He can never live up to his brother.
And he also starts, tossing around in his mind like, I have to do this because, like Lirim said, he had helped the Hork Bajir, and then he goes back to that other side of him that's like, well, do I think that that's really a good thing? Am I sure that it was a good thing we didn't help the Hork Bajir? Could they still be around? He's thinking this, and he makes it to the meeting, and they're all sitting around. Tobias still has the torn shreds of shirt in his talons.
Still blood-soaked.
Yeah,
Yeah, and everyone else is kind of on edge because the pressure around Axe's secrecy is only built while he went on this mission with Tobias. And even Tobias didn't really know what was going on with that mission. So for them, it's kind of like this breaking point of, Axe, we can't continue as usual with the secrecy.
Tobias hasn't ratted him out, but Tobias has said that there's something he won't tell Jake.
Yeah.
And Jake is like, he must have promised someone he wouldn't tell. And the only person I can think of that being is you.
Yeah, it's good deduction.
And everybody's very upset about this whole state of affairs. So everybody now knows for sure, big time, Axe is lying about something.
Yeah, and Axe doesn't help his case because every time he says something like, I made Tobias promise, he follows it with promise. Rachel and Marco in particular are feeling tense about this. So Rachel says, so now you're just not keeping secrets from us. You're getting us to keep secrets from ourselves. You need to get something straight, Axe. We're not your little action figures here. We're not toy soldiers. This is our planet and this is our fight. You don't control us. And Axe says, I'm not trying to control anyone. Rachel says, the information all goes one way. We tell you everything. You tell us squat. Oh, you sound like you're being straight sometimes, but you never tell us anything useful.
You sound like you're being straight sometimes, but then I hear what you're saying about Marco.
Well, yeah.
They continue to harp on the, you knew things about the Yerks that you didn't tell us. So, like, Marco continues going in with the facts of, like, here are things you knew and you didn't tell us. And Rachel's going at him with, like, we've been so good to you. We showed you everything on our world. And then they jump into the prime directive angle and start to try to get him to feel bad about that. It's like, oh, it's because you think we're so inferior. We're just little cavemen.
And backwards little humans. We don't deserve to be treated like equals. Yeah. And then Axe is like, that's not it. And Marco yells, sure it is. Sure it is. We're just some bunch of cavemen, aren't we? That's what we look like to you. Maybe I would have done better if it had been my own body, but the human body was awash in adrenaline. I was frustrated and afraid and guilty. I can't answer your questions, I yelled. I can't.
Axe comes back in saying, look, I have to follow the rules. And Cassie, who hasn't said anything to this point, comes in very gently, very reasonable. I don't know why it's written like that. And she says, did Elfangor follow the rules when he gave us the power to morph? And Axe loses it. He's like, I'm not Elfangor. Can't you see that? And he's like, I'm not a hero. I'm just a baby. I'm just a baby. Have you seen those TikToks?
I like Marco being jealous here. So Marco says, yeah, boo-hoo. I'm not impressed. Just what were you and Tobias doing? Why did you swear him to secrecy?
Priorities, Marco, priorities. Like, get it together, bud.
Yeah, and he starts to talk about Ciro's kindness. And they start to speculate, well, why can't he tell us? Why can't he tell us anything? Like Jake says, why all the secrets, basically? And Cassie puts it together from earlier when she had Axe over for dinner. Because Marco says it's about keeping control of us. Rachel says it's about power. Cassie says, no, that's not it. It's about guilt. It's about shame. That's what you said the other night. You said every species carries some guilt.
Yeah.
And Jake asks, asks, what did you guys do to be ashamed of? And Axe responds, once we were kind when we should not have been.
He tried.
He says, that's
all
I'm allowed to say.
He took a running start at it, though. He was like, no, I can do it. I can tell a truth. And then he says that.
And so they kind of tell him that's not enough. And Axe says, kind of heartbreakingly, I understand you have been... Once again, I was feeling that strange choking feeling in my throat. You've been very wonderful to me. I will always be grateful. Wonderful, grateful, full. The truth is, we would not have been together much longer anyway.
And he looks up at Tobias. Tobias knows the deal. Then he thinks to himself, slowly, feeling as if my clumsy human legs were made of a heavy earth metal called lead. I turned and walked away from my human friends.
Lead is not some sort of Terran mystery.
Yeah.
They didn't have Google. That's what we said.
All right, guys. So this is really it. We're in the action sequence of the book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We finally did all of our homework. We've broken all of Ciro's kindness.
Earth Diary, I think.
It's a pretty bad Earth Diary.
This is so bad. I'll read this one. You can't always get what you want, but if you try sometimes, you just might find you get what you need. A famous human named Rolling Stone said that. I thought it was very wise for a human. From the Earth Diary of Aximili Esgaruthis, though. Sorry for the Pizza Boy rendition.
It's okay.
The morning ritual is for normal times. He starts off the chapter, but this is a special day. This is a day when he's planning on dying.
This will
and there's
be
a very
the day
specific
that
ritual that you have to remember to do. It comes up more often than you might think.
on the day that you choose to give your life in the service of your people,
Apparently it's a bunch of bluffers. But apparently it comes up enough that you're well practiced at.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's way too dark.
It's really, really upsetting. I am the servant of the people. I am the servant of my prince. I am the servant of honor. My life is not my own when the people have need of it. Which I pointed out is another kind of swarm type thing, right? It's more swarms are bad, but now we're seeing it as part of Andalite.
Yeah,
so the Andalites aren't all good guys either, huh?
There you go. There you go. I like that. He meditates on like how alone he is again and just how all of his people are like 1 billion miles away. And like, you know, he's like, I've strayed from the path, but I would argue the path is strayed from him.
Tobias flies up. Well, Tobias was there actually, apparently watching.
Yeah, he was just like rudely spying.
And he's just noticing that the ritual's different. He says, that's different. That's not the ritual you were doing the other day. You didn't step into the water this time.
That's the part I was tracking. That's the part that sells best on the OnlyFans.
You're going to do this, aren't you? And he starts to comment on a kind of cold-blooded. I mean, it's one thing in a battle, but just setting out to assassinate someone.
Assassinate! I yelled. Sorry.
Take it. No, I mean, I have this highlighted because
he's an awful dude. Like, look at all the shit he's done. And he's a leader of a race that's just doing more shit to more people. Like, what the fuck? This would be the right thing to do. And he's like, whoa, buddy, calm down. I think
I'm not criticizing. I just wanted to get it right.
And I'm like,
he just said kind of cold-blooded, isn't it?
Yeah, you're judging him.
Yeah, he's playing mind games.
I do think that like they included that line because he's about to turn into a snake.
Yeah.
But like they kind of accidentally fucked up that interaction because of it.
But he is also trying to assess the situation because he's trying to find his own move forward.
Yeah.
So he is
I think you're right. I think he was trying to figure out like, is he really going? Is he really going to do this?
And an important detail of this, like Miranda was saying about the ritual, him being a servant to his prince, is that he is now under the understanding that he has been discharged by Jake.
Yeah.
Jake has discharged him as an animorph. He has no prince. He is princeless. And this is critical because now, like, Tobias and him get into a kind of like, you know, argument about the rules of that. Tobias is like, why are you doing this on your own? That's stupid. That's the whole reason you have friends. Axe chimes in that he's afraid to ask Jake because if he forbids him to do it, he would have to listen.
Because Jake's his prince.
Or at least was.
Yeah.
And what's really fascinating about this is the exact same reason why Axe left out what happens to people whose Yeerks die.
Yeah.
Because he was afraid Jake wouldn't act in a way that would be aggressive enough towards the Yeerks if he knew that Tom might die as a result of destroying the Kandrona. The exact same thing. He's asking forgiveness, not permission.
True.
So Axe says the thing about like he might forbid me to do it, and Tobias says, wait, hold on a minute. You mean Jake could just tell you no and you wouldn't do it? What if he ordered you to answer all our questions? Then what? And this gets a little dodgy. Axe says, everyone must have someone over him. That is Andalite custom. Each warrior has a prince, each prince a war prince, each war prince has a great leader, and each great leader must be elected by the people as a whole. And everyone, no matter how great or small, obeys the law. He could not order me to break the laws, which, like, okay, but we already have established that he is no longer his prince. And at the very least, there's some leeway now that Tobias's agreement with Axe need not be kept between him and Jake if Tobias and Jake have a stronger alliance.
Not even stronger alliance, simply that it's not one of the laws of Tobias's people. Like, he's not being ordered to break any laws when if Jake orders him to tell him something.
Right.
It just is like the Andalite culture is entirely shaped around war.
Yeah.
Like in the military. Like it's so...
Which is disturbing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially with the sound that this only happened a couple hundred years ago, and apparently there's at least one healthy person who was alive then.
Mm-hmm. Like, it's like this war was started because of a random act of kindness that someone living was around to witness.
Yeah.
Like, that's bananas. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. Tobias is asking clarifying questions. He asks, tell me where it is happening, Axe. Tell me where you're going to find him. So he's asking these things. He's trying to find out more about what's going on. They have this whole conversation about duty. Don't you have a duty to tell your prince what you're doing?
Yeah, and when Tobias asks if he has a duty to it, he's like, maybe I'm not a great warrior. Like,
what I'm doing is what Elfangor would have done. Elfangor, the great hero. Elfangor would live on in everyone's memory as a perfect warrior, a shining prince. If I was lucky, someday people would say, yes, accidentally broke the law, but he finished off that abomination.
He feels like this is the last meaningful act he can do with his life right now.
Yeah, exactly. But he also flips into the other tone of it, which is like, what other choice did he have? His name besmirched. He was dishonored. It wasn't courage that sent him against the Visser. It was merely despair. And then there's the third people who I kind of like, who are like, he was just a young fool trying to live up to his great brother's legacy. Poor thing. Poor thing.
We get a couple notes that the air on Earth is heavier than he's used to.
Yeah.
And we also get, I ran past trees that did not speak, like the trees of my own world.
Oh, that's crazy. I totally missed that. Good fucking catch. I don't know how I missed that. But yeah, he just takes off running towards the meeting place. Yes. He has like a certain amount of time to get there, and he runs off full bore. And I think he's also doing some like... just like he's pushing himself too hard. He's not really thinking about it. He's like, if I trip and fall and die on the way, that's fine too. What does it fucking matter?
Yeah, that's
like
true.
he's acting recklessly in his conveyance. God, I'm so tired. I'm saying things like acting recklessly in his conveyance.
So finally he breaks through the forest and he sees it. A nice big meadow right where the note had said it would be. It's beautiful, and he would like to feed here if he'd had the chance. And he looks around for where...
He reckons he has about an hour before
the Visser comes. So I guess he could get to eat.
He morphs into the snake from earlier, right?
Yeah, he notices a collection of Andalite hoof prints, and he's like, this must be the spot where he feeds. He's like, okay, this is the best plan I have, is to morph Snake, try to pump him as full of venom as I can, and morph back and kill him before the other guards get to me.
He's too ambitious. He needs to focus on what can I do in morph and stay in morph. The other thing I want to say is this morph into a snake, this is our first morph into a snake.
Yeah.
And it's our first thing where it's a no force.
Yes. It's a really horrifying series of statements, actually.
Yeah, it might be worth reading. My legs simply melted away, withered, disappeared. I fell to the ground a legless stump. My arms shriveled and evaporated.
Once again, you could lower yourself to the ground.
Yes, which is my whole point. I've been saying that. Like, why not morph on your side?
Yeah, he actually says then when he starts to shrink, he's like, it's actually better this way because I'm already on the ground, so I don't feel quite as disoriented by the shrinking.
Yeah.
But I'll never get that as long as I live. Like, if I'm morphing a cockroach, I'm going to get down on the ground.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way.
Yeah, that's the least weird part of what you'd be doing.
That's why you're not an anamorph, Chris. So.
I don't even know what amount of curse words to say at you right now. I am an anamorph, damn it. I'm better than an anamorph. I'm an anadork. Yeah. I'm an anacool kid.
He grows a mouth. That's always what Axe looks forward to.
Yes.
A huge mouth for the size of my body. I was a tube and the open end was my mouth.
Yeah, it's a great one.
I was a creature with no separate parts. Miranda, any other lines you want to hit here?
No, I just liked that because I felt like that was a metaphor for bringing down the walls within yourself, which is something Axe
that's
is
beautiful.
moving toward trying to do here.
Yes.
Yeah, the rest of the morph, he talks about like what happens with his eyes, what happens with his tongue. He talks about the senses. He talks about licking the air to smell it and pulling the tongue back in and the glands and all that. But then he says my favorite thing. He says, and then I felt the future I had waited for. Huge, long, curved fangs. Fangs that were each a tiny hollow needle. Above them, poison glands grew and filled with toxin. It's just a good life. It's a good life being a snake.
Yeah.
You know?
I want a snake. So, yes, he settles down as a snake and is like, now I just have to wait. And eventually, he starts to feel the vibration of the earth.
Yeah, he feels the ship's landing, what he reckons is the ship's landing. He hears the Visser giving commands.
And then he smells
I do want to...
Yeah,
the smell. We got to hit this line. I smelled him long before I saw him. I smelled Andalite flesh. The yerk, that was the real Visser 3. The yerk inside the Andalite body. I couldn't smell that.
Didn't Jake and Cassie both have moments that seemed to be very clearly...
Agreed.
Unless there was just like some strange ganj going on at the sharing that made them smell like what were they burning in those bonfires?
Yeah. That's a good guess, but it also could be that like the yerks hadn't figured out how to not shit themselves yet. And that they were just walking around having shit themselves. That's one thing.
Or maybe Visser 3 has no smell. Yeah. Homer could smell the yerk and Fluffers McKitty could smell the yerk.
Yeah, that's right.
And the yerk pool has a distinct smell.
But maybe,
that could be the
my
yerk
guess,
lube.
if Visser 3 has his own pool. And maybe it's just not hygienic when you're sharing a yerk pool with a bunch of other yerks. And like Visser 3 has like a hot tub or something that he...
Anyway, Visser 3 is doing his Visser 3ist of annoying traits that he does that are bad things to do.
To everyone who could hear him.
Open broadcasting, so Axe knows for certain it's him. And he like hears him galloping up and he just waits in the grass. And then he appears above him blocking out the sun like some weird curved roof.
It's a weird line.
And it all happens really fast. This happens insanely fast. There's no pretense. There's no like... anybody playing with their food.
No,
it's just
Foot goes out to drink and Axe lashes
bites
out.
him. Yeah, bites him. He jerked. I released. He tried to back away. He was very fast, but I was so much faster. Strike. Pump the venom into him. Poison the monster. Poison the abomination. Poison Elfanger's murderer. I drew back. I could taste my own venom dripping from my fangs. His tail swept over his head, lancing down at me, but I was already gone. The blade sliced deep into the ground. I felt the wind of it as I slithered swiftly away. Demorph, I ordered myself. And then he tries to demorph as quickly as he can. It happens a little weirdly. His size stays consistent for a second, or he gets big as a snake.
He like kind of gets big as a snake, and then little like nubs start sticking out.
Yeah, he gets like his eyes back, so he can kind of see some more stuff. And
tiny
Visser
legs
3
appeared, just stubs at first. Tiny stalk eyes grew from the broad top of my diamond-shaped head. And Visser 3 shouting, "There is a snake! Find it! Kill it!"
He struggled on, heading for the edge of the forest.
He senses a warm-blooded creature just ahead of him, and he smells it, and he goes, "Hork-Bajir!" And I know they're from another planet, but they're so clearly reptilian that Hork-Bajir being warm-blooded is like...
a little confusing.
It's
a little confusing. Yeah. And we get, a description of them as we always get. He's finally not quite a snake anymore, but he ain't quite an Andalite, I'll tell you that much.
Yep.
He's still running.
Well, he's like, kind of running, kind of slithering, sort of hobbling.
But the Hork-Bajir's got him cornered.
There's one Hork-Bajir, right? There's one
he
Hork-Bajir.
sees one, and it's aiming for him, and it would have hit him in the neck, but suddenly...
a huge roar, and where the Hork-Bajir had once been standing, he got knocked away, and in his place is a Rachel in bear morph.
Yep.
Grizzly bear.
Apparently she sent the Hork-Bajir cartwheeling through the air, which I thought was a particularly vivid description.
It's also cute because she does gymnastics.
She does.
So
Yeah. And she says, "Oh man, I love doing that." And thoughts speak to X.
She loves doing a murder.
Yeah.
This kid loves to murder.
He asks Rachel, and she says, "No, it's Smokey the Bear. Finish morphing, you Andalite idiot. Then let's go kick some yerk butt."
I don't know. I feel like it was rude to choose to use a reference we won't get.
Yeah, that's rude, and it's also super triggering that she said something very similar to what Elfangor said right before he died. So this chapter gets buck wild, though. It's everybody running around. It's Tobias running recon up above, being like, "There's 2 Hork-Bajirs over here. There's a thing over here. Oh, wait, Cassie and Margot killed them already."
Yeah, Jake drops down out of a tree and pounces on someone.
Yeah.
It's great. And all the while, Visser 3 is just standing in the middle.
It becomes a very easy fight. And we get a little interaction between Axe and Tobias where Tobias comes clean about having decided to tell Jake and about the sort of like logic and ethics he employed to do so.
He says, "I got the idea from you, Axe. You're the one who said you had to obey your prince. Well, I guess Jake is my prince too. He ordered me to tell him." And then he says, Axe says, "Well, how did you know where I was going?" And Tobias is like, "When you passed that note, you exchanged sticky notes with the human controller in the observatory, Gary."
When you were playing Etch-a-Sketch with Gary.
I don't know how he forgot this, actually. Yeah, he's like, "I have hawk's eyes. I can see a flea and a cat from 100 feet away." I could definitely read that note.
In the thick of the battle, they decide that now's not the time to get too deep into it. They have a lot more Hork-Bajir butt to kick, and they run up on Visser 3 and his 2 Hork-Bajir guards who are in the middle of the field. And
the Visser's dying, right?
Yeah, he starts to stagger from the venom of the rattlesnake because he got 2 good bites in, 2 or 3 good bites in before he skittered away.
And they actually do something that I'm surprised doesn't come up in D&D more often, where they say to the other people fighting, they're like, "Hey, we just took out your boss. Like, maybe you don't want to stick around to see what happens."
Yeah.
And the 2 Hork-Bajir turn tail and run, and they're left alone with the Andalite, who sadly Tobias is able to quickly confirm no longer is being possessed
by Visser 3.
Visser 3. We have missed our opportunity to kill that tasty little potato.
He got into the water and he washed away. We don't know where he went.
And, maybe we'll get lucky and he'll die out there, but we're in a weird place right now where the Andalite is becoming conscious and is begging to be killed by Axe because he doesn't want to go back into servitude under Visser 3, because if they can keep his body, they're going to keep him alive. It's absolutely too powerful for them to let him die.
Right. And he says he knows, having been Visser 3, that there are backup people on standby who will have been alerted who are coming, and that the poison is too slow to stop them from being able to keep him alive and reinfest him.
He says they'll be here in minutes.
So this is like a fast thing. We can't stay here and take our time and see if maybe you don't die from the venom. We either leave you to be taken by them or we kill you here.
And just to be to hit this note, because I feel like it really comes across when you're reading it. He's gasping and begging, "Kill me before he takes me over again. Please kill me." He couldn't be more clear about what he wants.
And he's in horrible pain. And he's like, "Because we're Andalites, you got to do it." And he even tries to lift his tail blade to his throat.
To do it himself.
No, I don't know that that's what he was doing. I thought it was in the gesture that we learned from back with...
That makes sense. Back
with Elfangor, I thought he was trying to say... Because I think he knew he was too weak to kill himself or he'd have done it by now. But he was at least trying to make the gesture of Andalites have each other's back so much they could put their tail blade at their throat and...
Sure.
The Andalite continues, "He'll take me again. The orcs will find him and bring me to him. Please, I can't live that way. Please, the things I've seen, you don't understand. It's horrible.
Right.
And
because Axe says he can't kill him.
Axe is like, I can't kill you. Now tell me your report. Who are you?
Yeah.
Like, and it pissed me off so much.
He's not.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah,
No.
But
but it is just like, he's like, no, this doesn't make sense to me. So I'm going to start asking you unrelated questions. I just don't actually understand why he isn't able to kill him. It does sound fucked. Like, I don't know if I'd be able to do it. I really, truly
don't understand why he isn't willing to kill him in this moment. I understand why it's upsetting, but I think, he was saying he didn't want Jake to know because he wouldn't be able to do what it takes to fight the Yeerks if he knew it hurt humans. And then he comes out here, and the second he knows it would hurt an Andalite, he won't fucking do it.
Yeah.
Right. We get a cool information dump from this Andalite.
Yeah.
He says, Axe is like, I can't kill you, I'm sorry. Then this Andalite says, I understand, he said at last, with sadness so deep it burned me to hear. Listen, my name, what is my name? It's been so long, and the poison. Yes, that's it. My name is Aloran Semitur Koras. I was once a war prince. Someday, if you survive, I have a wife. I have 2 children. Someday, tell them I still hope. Tell them I still have love for them.
And Axe says, yes, War Prince Aloran, I will tell them. Do you have any other orders for me? Aloran reaches up with one weakened hand. He takes Axe's hand in his.
Fight them. They are stronger than you think. They've infiltrated. They are on the homeworld. Fight.
His fingers were limp. He fell silent, unconscious.
Just to wrap up the scene, after he falls unconscious, they all decide they better get the hell out of there, knowing that they can't finish the job and kill the actual Yeerk Visser 3, and killing the Andalite they've decided is unethical, so it's just time to go home before the blade ships show up.
Yeah.
Axe has not seen another Andalite he's seen Visser 3, but to actually interact with another Andalite when he's so homesick for his own planet, like maybe that's part of what's going through his head here.
Say it right.
I know. It's like you can't say homesick now. Yeah. He's so home horny.
Want that
Why
on
is
a
everyone laughing? I can't kill you, Lauren. It's just I'm so home horny. Why put Axe into position? Like, it's his first book. This is his first book where he's the narrator, and he runs into Visser 3. He poisons Visser 3 to the point that he has to flee his host body, and then it's like, oh, well, I can't do it. Like, and
yeah. If Visser 3 was in him, I guess he'd have been able to do it. But knowing that, but it does so much to help the Yeerks leaving him there.
Yeah.
And that's what blows my mind.
And he knows.
That's what blows. It's just a tactical blunder.
He knows the thing that you say when you're ready to give your life. Yeah. And this guy's going, I'm ready to give my life. I was raised an Andalite. I'm ready to die a fucking Andalite, buddy.
I feel like it has to be the thing that we keep hitting over and over again, though. That Axe just isn't. He's green. Like he's still a kid, and like he's not ready to make a decision like that.
Yeah.
I just
that's
feel
the only
like
thing I can think, right?
If we had gotten another chapter in this book, the chapter would have been Rachel and Marco saying, I can't believe we're not fucking killing him.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
I can't believe that wasn't commented on at all, that everybody just accepted that they were going to leave him there.
Yeah.
And the answer is they were out of pages for this book. But like, it really is like, it is unfucking believable that Rachel and Marco would not have pushed back on Jake about this. Because I could see Jake agreeing to go by Axe's
I think
code.
what Jake would agree to is to try to hide him.
Yeah. Yes.
Like, why did nobody suggest, like, okay, we take him back. We just have to tell Cassie's parents. We just have to. We have to say, listen, I know it doesn't make any fucking sense, but we need you to let this stay in your barn.
No, yeah,
okay?
And at the very least,
don't even tell them that he can talk or anything. It's just like it's an animal, and people are looking for it. You know what I mean? And we're putting it here, and just let him stay in the barn. I think they'd be in.
That would be fucking cool. It would be too wild for this stage of the books.
Yeah.
But it would be so cool, especially
because then if he gets in and he says back to them, like, Visser 3 isn't dead, but I have another Andalite here.
Oh man, that's the book I want. I really want them to
they'd get found out really fast, I'm sure, but like
it makes no sense to put them in this kind of situation and then like at the very least I hope that Marco and Rachel are bringing this up every book for like the next 5 books because they're so upset that they let this happen. But I don't feel like that's what's going to happen following this. Like I think if they were going to speak about it later, they would speak about it now. And it just doesn't make sense to get this close and then walk away.
No, it's classic like D&D campaign. Like the dungeon master is like, no, and he gets away this time.
Yeah.
It does at least humanize feels like the wrong word, but like it reminds us that Visser 3 is not the Andalite, like that there's Visser 3 is the little, like the fact that this pathetic little slug like squirms out of his ear and then what does he do? He floats down
He swims or he floats. He's under the water for sure because Tobias says that's why I can't see him.
This last one is so patriotic, it pisses me off. It's so American.
Give me liberty or give me death. A human named Patrick Henry said that. I wonder if the Yeerks knew before they came to conquer Earth that humans said things like that. I wonder if the Yeerks knew what they were getting into. From the diary of Aximili Asgaruth Istil.
And so it opens, we call it the law of Ciro's kindness.
Yes, 2 days have gone by, and they have gathered in the woods.
To finally do their post-analysis of this whole John. And Axe is ready to talk.
Yep, he's just going to tell him everything.
So he starts to say it's like we're not allowed to transfer information to other species. We're not allowed to advance other species. And then they start to, Marco and Rachel cut in and start speculating. It's like, we get it. You don't want any competition in the galaxy. And then Prince Jake cuts in and is like, yo, Marco, chill. Let Axe tell his own story.
So he says Ciro was a great Andalite, a warrior, a scientist. He was in charge of the first Andalite expedition to the Yeerk homeworld. Ciro felt sorry for the Yeerks. They were an intelligent species. They used a primitive species called Gedds as hosts. But the Gedds were nearly blind, clumsy, not very useful. The Yeerks had never even seen the stars, let alone been able to leave their own planet. Ciro felt sorry for them. Ciro was a kind, decent Andalite.
I'm going to say it. I'm pro-Gedd all the way.
Yeah.
I'm so mad at the Gedd bashing.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm so mad at the Gedd bashing. It's just not fair.
Very useful, Chris. I don't know if you got that thing. That's a big shortcoming.
Right, keep going.
So keep going. Cassie figures it out, and Rachel's still confused. So Cassie spells it out for her and is like, so Ciro gave the Yeerks advanced technology, and Axe is like, yes, I'm sorry, I thought we all understood that. I thought this was a group of big brains for smarties and not little brains for dumpy foods. I don't know.
But he does say a bunch of cool details, too. He says, Ciro thought the Yeerks should be available to travel to...
Should be able to travel to...
Ciro thought the Yeerks should be... Stop it, you. Ciro thought the Yeerks should be able to travel to the stars, as we did. At first, it seemed like the right thing to do, but then a species called the Nahara, by the time we found out it was too late, the entire species was enslaved by the Yeerks. Then came the Hork-Bajir, the Taxons, and other planets. Other races were falling to the Yeerk Empire. They spread like disease. Billions of free people, swarms of free people have been enslaved or destroyed by the Yeerks because of Ciro, because of us, because of the Andalites.
And then Axe is like, for a while, no one spoke. I knew what to expect. These humans had first seen Andalites as heroes, then they had come to be suspicious. Now I had just confirmed their suspicions. They would see Andalites not as great saviors of the galaxy, but as villains. And then Marco says, Alfangor broke the law of Ciro's kindness, though, right?
Mm-hmm. And Axe is like, oh, yeah, but I'm going to take the blame, okay? He was a great hero. His name would be destroyed. You know, I took the blame.
Now, one day they'll call it Aximili's kindness.
If we fail to fight off the Yeerks on Earth, they will someday call this Aximili's kindness.
Yeah. And Marco and Rachel are both really disappointed that they don't get to keep hating Axe. Because they were weirdly into it.
It's what brought them together. I get it.
Marco rolls his eyes and goes, man, and I was really getting into disliking you, Axe.
And he looks up and they're all smiling. And he's like, I'm sorry, I just, like, I don't know that I was clear, I guess. So, like, we're the reason your planet is being attacked.
Yeah.
You know, Prince Jake is like, yeah, Axe, a long time ago, you know, somebody did something, and they were actually trying to be nice, but it, like, fucked everything up. You know? But they were,
sounds like some liberal bullshit.
They were trying to be a good guy. You know, they wanted everybody to get along, and that
it's like Hamilton the musical.
It really is, though, like him saying, you know, basically, you know, your great uncle who created space racism wasn't being, you know, a space racist when he did it. He was actually just so loving of all creatures.
Yeah.
That he accidentally gave all the money and power to the space racists. Does that make sense?
As long as your intentions seem to be positive, then you get away with whatever the consequences are.
That's what they say the message of humanity is, that you never give up hoping.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense that a bunch of Americans are saying this, considering our history meddling
Chris,
in
if you go
the
a few lines
universe
down,
of the planet.
I think you might start to question that, because there's a point where they all start going, for freedom! For freedom! Freedom! This bit where Marco suddenly starts going, your boy Cyril wasn't wrong. He just hooked up with the wrong species. And I'm like, what is happening? I don't think they wrote this chapter.
What is the wording of this?
Yeah, it's true. He like twists his cap backwards.
We're Homo sapiens, Jack. Oh my God.
You bring the spaceships, we'll bring the raisinets.
Yeah. Because Andalites and humans, we should say, what they decide is that they both want the same thing. They want freedom, whatever that means.
I don't understand if maybe like the Berlin Wall had just come down and they were like, no, Russia and America are capitalists now and this is great.
Yeah.
And
they lift Axe up.
Well, his tail's like the sickle and Rachel's elephant feet are like the hammer.
The hammer of his throat.
There you go.
The hammering of his pulse.
Yeah.
There you go. Of his 3 hearts.
I don't even think we have to hit any of this. Different bodies, different species, maybe, but who cares?
And then, you know, they'll all break the tension with the ever popular question, where do you poop from?
Yeah.
It's so true, but the opposite. It's where's your mouth? For serious, where's your mouth?
How do you eat without a mouth?
And then he replies, it's a perfectly normal mouth in a perfectly normal place. But at the end of the chapter, we actually get a nice little update about his relationship with Tobias, which is neither
there's a freeze frame and like the recording of Tobias saying different bodies, different species, that kind of echoes, and then you know, there's a freeze frame of Axe looking up at Tobias, and it goes,
neither I nor my shorm, Tobias, is capable of smiling. But just the same, there are times when we look at each other. And it ends there. No, there are times when we look at each other and understand each other and smile.
And that, my friends, believe it or not, is not the end of the book.
It's not the end of the book. Don't get excited. We have a really fucking annoying chapter. It's like literally like half a page. But it is so fucking annoying because E.T. phones home again and doesn't tell them that he has updated information from the Andalite who is possessed by Visser 3 himself. That
there's someone on the home world.
That there are Yeerks on the home world, and that now every interaction with Andalites has to be called into question.
Yeah.
No.
Like, we literally talked to our own father, and he could have been Yeerk.
So all it is Axe goes back one time, he threatens and sort of like threatens to out the guy who gave him the information if he doesn't let him work on Gary. Let him back into the system one more time. And he makes a call, and they're like, how are you doing? And he's like, well, look, I'm not going to be able to call again, okay? I got to delete all this. But here's the thing. I need to send a message to the wife of Alaran Senator Carras from her husband. You know, Liram immediately knows who that is and is like, what? And he's like, her husband senses love. And he's like, cool, anything else? And he's like, nah, but you know what? You failed to save the Hork-Bajir. And I don't think that's cool. The humans are my people now. And sir, with all due respect to the law and to you, I won't let the humans be destroyed as the Hork-Bajir were destroyed. Not while I live.
And then
Nice.
Liram weirdly gets a twinkle in his eye and goes, "It must run in your family. You're just like your brother, Elfangor."
I laugh. That Elfangor.
It's so sitcom-y.
It is.
It's so sitcom-y.
I want to address just real quick, though. You read Liram's eyes narrow dangerously as a twinkle
in his eye.
Okay, the line just sounds like that to me. I feel like, because it also is where it ends, so.
This is where it ends. I think this is like a weird hint that the other people in the military maybe didn't actually like Elfangor.
Yeah.
Oh, man. This book, though, holy shit, guys.
This is a wild ride.
Just a wild ride. Like, just too much information and not enough information. And then we got so close to fucking up the Visser. And I gotta go to work tomorrow.
I know.
And it's
and I don't know.
Be the Visser you want to see in the world. That's what I'm saying.
There were some nice moments, I like the parallel of the conversation in the middle that he has with them where he can't tell them anything. He's in Morph. So there's like a layer between them, but then he has them come to the woods and he gives them the real talk in Andalite form. I like that. That's nice.
I do like that. And I think I'm saying what you just said again. I hadn't quite realized, but he's forthcoming with certain things. Yeah. And yet has his own version of I Can't Tell You Where I Live, which is saying Andalite fucking homeworld into a fucking telephone booth and being like, connect the call to the Andalite homeworld, please.
I think this book read really well, but I don't know. This might be the book where, like, the moment you start poking at it and talking about it, it doesn't, like, it was really easy to burn through when I was reading it, but then talking about it, it kind of crumbles a bit, or it doesn't crumble, but you start to have a lot of questions the moment you start discussing
there's a lot of little problems. There's little cracks starting to appear. I mean, yelling and thought speak being sort of introduced, because I could kind of give it a pass on the other kids when they sort of said that, because I'm like, that's what they're like, I'm thinking yell, like, so that's what they think of. But like, why would Andalites think of thought speech in terms of volume? Like,
a lot of like ideas like that really don't land quite right. What were you gonna say, Ed?
What I'm wondering is why I feel like another one of these books would have just ended with Axe contacting home. And that's a huge thing. It's actually comparably to like having Visser 3 cornered, but then letting him go. It's actually the bigger thing. He's made contact with his family again. Yeah. Why not just end the book there? And they could have just like moved some things around so that it build up to that. Maybe it was like a bigger thing to break into the observatory. Like why not? Why have the Visser 3? Like it feels like a season finale, Because I think it needed
totally
to be Axe's book. And when they realized that Tobias was going to get his next book instead.
Yeah.
Oh, they had to wrap up the plot.
I think
You're probably
They
right
have to
about
do
that.
twice the amount of work in one book because they don't know when they'll get to Axe again.
They had to do the why I fight and then kind of a piecemeal resolution of it that it will last you to the next time.
So do you think maybe they were hoping that maybe they originally pitched to Scholastic, like, oh, we'll do a rotation with Axe every 7 books or something like that?
I would bet you they had the first 6 books written.
Yeah.
One of
or at
least blocked out. Yeah. So they had to. I would bet you they were planning for 6 and had to make some real changes when they came back and said 5.
Meaning 6, like. Axe also gets
6
the book.
wouldn't.
6 narrators.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Because the book would have been much more palatable if that had been the flow. We would have been.
Because we could have done the whole first thing. If they could have gotten to do the whole first part of this book as, like, Axe's first book, like, right up to where he makes contact,
Right.
And then
we got the rest of this.
You couldn't
in another
do right
book.
up till he makes contact, but like you were saying, make getting to the observatory a longer term goal. Mm-hmm. And then have Axe do that in his next book. We would have gotten a lot more flesh out of this second part.
Yeah.
And I think it would have been better for it, but also like,
but
whatever.
It's really
fine.
good. Like, I'm very
really
happy
this was
with
a
what I
great
got.
book. And I'm super stoked that I get to read book 9 now, which I happen to have right here. Shall we tease it?
Sure.
Okay. So book 9 coming up next after a truly mini-sode. Animorphs, The Secret. It's a Cassie book. She's turning into a wolf.
A new morph. Just kidding.
And the tagline is, no place to run, no place to hide. That's it.
If I'm remembering, I think Cassie's second book, I still kind of remember it. I'm very excited.
Thanks for listening to Anidorks. We'll be back soon with lots more to say. Until the Andalites return, or at least until next time. See you soon.